been a member of the church, I think, for 78 years. And then Terry, of course, came along as well. The church began in 1909, 13 years ago. So that's what a legacy in our community. So how many locations has it had?
I think 2.
This is the second. And the third location.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And it was originally Norwegian speaking.
Wow. Can you say good morning in Norwegian? That's good. Of course, Terry grew up, as many of you would know, she grew up in the car business. She was with Hubbard Chevrolet, part of her family business. She was the GM there for 21 years. And she now works more like a software company, website stuff, but it's still with the car dealer business. And she's done that for the last 12 years. But she was also instrumental in the pivot of the Wednesday night community meal. It was going on before COVID for about 4 years. And they would meet in this place, feeding about 60 to 80 people. But when the pandemic hit, the people who are currently doing that wanted to hand it off. And so Terry knew that ministry needed to keep going. And she got Allie Swanson and then Shelley Shook, the three amicas, put it together, and she said this last Wednesday night they fed over 500 people.
Actually, 425, but the previous week was 498.
498 in 90 minutes.
Yeah, an hour and a half.
It's a lot of handing off and things, so that's phenomenal what they've done. So what a great ministry that is. Personally, Terry's been married for 20 years. She's got 6 stepkids, 13 grandkids, 4 great-grandkids, which makes me very jealous of her. And she said they're all living in the area, too, which is pretty cool. I asked her about Woodburn. Obviously she's invested in our community, and say, what do you like best about Woodburn? What I typically ask those whom I introduce. And she said the diversity of our community really is one of our great strengths. And she loves that, especially looking at the Greater Woodburn Opportunity Center and the diversity of that, how we can be a stronger community because of the diversity that we have. So we're excited to hear. We've heard about this program or this possible ministry location for several years, and now we're getting closer and closer to reality. And so we're excited to hear about that. So would you help me welcome to her own church, Terry?
Yes.
Murphy Gonzalez.
Welcome. Good to have you all here, and really excited to share some kind of miraculous new things that are happening with this project. I think Steve has kind of explained the history and my involvement in this church and this community. And so Emmanuel Lutheran Church, for many of you may know the short story, we bought 8 acres in 2005 with the expectation of relocating out by Walmart. It was all big fields then. Well, lots of things changed. We had a financial collapse in 2008. Lots of other things within the church changed. And we found ourselves in 2014 wondering, okay, God, where and what are we supposed to be doing? So for the last 8 years, we've been exploring what are we supposed to be doing. As our church is winding down and finding ourselves in a place that other faith communities, we've still felt God's calling us to ministry here in Woodburn. So through a lot of work, through a lot of grants, we received $80,000 in grants to do seasons of listening, a feasibility study. Thanks to Meg, wherever she is. Where is she? There she is. I live in the car business, so I don't know what a feasibility study is. But at one of our community meetings that we had here, she said, you need to do a feasibility study. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but we'll do that. Well, we did do that, or our team did that. And so what we're going to share with you today is how Emmanuel will be transitioning from this space to a third location on that 8 acres. And so something that has been a bit of a pipe dream, but a lot of work is going to become a reality. And so what is this thing? What is this Greater Woodburn Opportunity Center? So as we listen to community members for a number of years, we asked the question, what is it that Woodburn needs? And that's how we came to what's going to be living in partnership at this place. We'll have some speakers here in a bit talk about what that looks like. One of our previous pastors, as we were having the conversation of, well, what is this? And I think his best explanation of this is it's a space. It's a space where community can come together. And when I think about Woodburn, is there any place right now where we can all come together? Where can we come together to have a meeting, to have a celebration, to have coffee, to have a large event? Wellspring served that space for some time, but Wellspring has transitioned mostly into medical. So there is no community gathering space. And really that's what this is about, a space to bring community together. A space that provides gathering both indoor and outdoor. Actually, there's a picture right over there. Part of the acreage in the southwest corner is a wetland that has 2 acres. That's designed to be a 2-acre park with places to picnic, walking trails. One of the things in the meetings that came up was a safe place. We live in a country that is scary at times, and so having a safe and welcoming place to all the different community members was important. A gathering place for not only coffee and small meetings, but a cultural gathering space that can hold up to 500 people. So that's part of this space. A space that will offer affordable housing for over 50 families. So addressing community needs of affordable housing. A commercial kitchen which will host the community meal, which I just did some averages. We're serving 433 people per week. So that continuing that as well as other hunger-related programs. A place to support family stability with a full-time presence of community action, having support services, mano a mano, Catholic Community Services, Little Lambs Preschool, and other organizations. And then a new home for Emmanuel, as well as other spiritual partners who want to join us there. Currently, we have 2 other churches that meet here. So our church, which was once empty a lot, is busy almost every day of the week now. And so one of the things with having a faith community and having a large building like this of 12,000 square feet is we found ourselves with the building empty most of the time. And so having a space that's flexible, that can offer utilization of space all the time, really for us is taking the treasures that we've been blessed with and blessing those to the community. So today I want to introduce you then to the Greater Woodburn Opportunity Center. It's a partnership of Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Before the pandemic, or right during the pandemic, the budget was estimated at $10 million. Obviously with inflation, the budget's now $15 million. So it's gonna take a lot of work, but I know we have some important partners here that are gonna help us get there, and one huge partner is Community Resource Trust out of Salem. They are going to be part of our financial partners that will help us get there. We have one of their teammates here today to talk about that. So at this point, I want to introduce you to some of the partners who will be occupying the space. I don't think Jimmy Jones is here yet. I haven't seen him, so he should be en route. But I think then we will go to Meg and Carmen Fernandez with Farm Worker Housing to talk about the affordable housing project that's going to happen at the property. So Meg or Carmen, if you want to come up and talk about that, that would be great.
Thank you, everybody. I feel like an artist. I place on your tables a little bit of our story. If you can grab that, maybe Carmen can pass more if you need. FHBC, just a little brief about FHBC. I don't want to get too much into it. FHBC came to Woodburn in 1990. By 1919, we were building our first project. Most of you guys must know our project, Nuevo Amanecer. Right now, today, we have 130 units in town. And our wait list is about 2 years so far. So to get a unit in our affordable housing project, you have to wait, if you're lucky, 2 years. That is impossible. We need to help people that is in need for housing. And and our focus right now is affordable rental housing. But in reality, and I think we all know, single housing, homeownership is also a key issue for a community to move forward. So from 31 years, FHDC have been doing all this work. And we don't just do the housing, we don't just provide housing, but we work with a lot of people in this room and a lot of people that is not in this room in providing supportive services. Most of our clients are newcomers in United States. They need support, they need to learn how to navigate the system, but also they need to know how to be good citizens. So we engage with the police, and we say, can we teach, our families about safety, security, how to call the police, how to contact the police. So we do all that. We don't do it alone. Let's be honest. We couldn't do that all alone. But 15 years ago when I joined FSDC, gun activity in Woodburn was horrible. We were attacked every day. We had a lot of our kids getting into it. We worked with the police. The school district was great. Mano a Mano, PECUM, all those organizations, the churches, all the churches came together and said, we need to fight this back. And now we have a really good community, that is very engaging. So we have 130, going back to FHCC, what we do, 130 units. Our idea, and when we were invited, thank you, to be part of this project, initial idea was single housing, because that's what we see the need. Unluckily, after 2 years of pandemic and inflation, single housing, which it would have been a smaller project, it's not possible at this point. So we talk with everybody in the committee and we say, what about rental housing? We have enough people in our wait list, we can put an application and we can move forward. Now, when I say we are gonna put an application, you might think that it's really easy. We put an application and next year we get all the money to build that housing. There is a lot of money coming from housing, and luckily we compete, not just with local private developers, but national private developers. So when we put our application, when we are ready to put our application, it will take us between 2 to 3 years to build the housing. If we put the application and we get approved. But we dream good and we dream big, and we think we can do it. We can build in this 2.2 acres around 40 to 50 units, which it will be a great help for the families. Obviously we will work with all the agencies around the housing, and we will provide the same services that we provide in all our housing. Our name, sometimes people get confused because we are called Farm Worker Housing Development Corporation. Just want to clarify that we don't do just housing for farm workers. We do workforce in general. Anybody that is a low-income individual or family is welcome to apply. Having said that, we usually don't give housing to individuals. We are more focused on families. Our units, as you can see in the flyer, is 2, 3, and 4 units. 4 units, as you know, is kind of like a house. It's not really a unit. But we have very affordable rental. In some properties, we can even get rental assistance as a part of the housing. So families in our housing pay sometimes 0 rents. They get paid back from the federal government what they need for electricity. So there is good programs out there. Again, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you have any questions that I can answer. It's early, but not that
It's too early.
Well, any question, we are here, Carmen and I, to answer. Thank you.
One of the partners that works directly with farm worker housing is Mano a Mano. And Levi, who was going to be here, but he had a scheduling conflict, shared an email, and I wanted to just share that with you because you may not know what Mano a Mano does, as I didn't. Mano a Mano is supportive of this project. We see it as an opportunity to meet the needs of the growing community of Woodburn. We also see the potential for benefit in the surrounding communities. Although the details still have to be fleshed out, we see our potential role as supporting food distribution and helping connect people with community resources. We currently serve about 100 families from the Woodburn area, but we're sure the number would greatly increase. Mano a Mano is one of the oldest Latinx community-based organizations in Marion Polk counties. We serve about 3,000 families every year from Marion Polk and 5 other counties in Oregon. Our mission is to help reduce toxic stress and increase hope and resilience. We provide community food banks, resource navigation, parenting support, positive youth development programming, and advocacy on behalf of equity. So they would be another partner that will be on site at the facility. One of the other partners that's here today is Dora Sandoval with Community Dental Health with OIT Dental. And so Dora, would you have a few words that you could share about how you will be involved in the space?
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Dora Sandoval. I am originally from Mexico, came to the U.S. at age 9, went to Woodburn School District, graduated and went on to get a Bachelor's of Science in Dental Hygiene from the Oregon Health and Science University, but I'm still back in Woodburn. So I'm here, I can't say I'm representing the Oregon Institute of Technology because they want to be partners, but it's not something they can commit to until the place is done and up and running. There are a lot of political things that have to happen first. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and what I do there and what I'm hoping that we can do when the Opportunity Center is up and running. So I'll start with saying I worked in Woodburn for 15 years as a dental hygienist down the road at Salud Medical Center. So I was involved with working with farm workers, low income, uninsured, underinsured, and that's where my heart is. My heart is absolutely in helping the lower income population, the ones that are oftentimes left unseen. So with that being said, where would the Opportunity Center help my goal of helping? Dental, of course. We are hoping, I've been speaking to Mr. Bill Wiseman, I don't know, Wiseman, about our possible involvement from the Oregon Institute of Technology's Dental Hygiene Program, where we are in Chemeketa. So the goal is to bring students to the center to provide free dental services to patients. Then do referrals to other community partners whom I have a lot of resources for dental. In 2017, I got a community dental health coordinator certificate that I did through an online program. And with that, I was able to run a pilot project in collaboration with Washington County, Pacific University Dental Hygiene Studies in Hillsborough, the Oregon Oral Health Coalition, and Promotores de Salud from Providence, all in that area. So what I was doing with that job was the students were seeing patients in the dental hygiene van, and there is so much need for not just a dental cleaning, but extractions, root canals, fillings, you name it. And so my job was to close the loop on those referrals. I started in 2019 with zero, nothing to look at. I was Oregon's first community dental health coordinator, the first one to run a pilot project. That first year we had a 69% closed dental loop for the referrals. So, I think we did pretty good for it being the first year, and then COVID happened, and we all know what happened after that. So unfortunately, a lot of doors were closed. But I'm hoping that I would be able to collaborate, bring our students over, help those in need, and then send out referrals. I currently serve on the board of the Oregon Academy of General Dentistry, the foundation, and we hold IV sedation clinics twice a year, and we provide free dental services to those who need it. And so I'm referring a lot of patients from the Oregon Institute of Technology. We met last Monday to discuss the opening of humanitarian clinics once a month starting next year in the summer. So that's what we're dreaming of with the academy, and we think it's gonna happen. You know, it might take a while, but that is gonna be a resource for once the Greater Woodburn Opportunity Center is open. The patients that my students see, I'm dreaming big, those will be referred to the humanitarian clinics for the things that we can't do at the center. I wanna go back to, you know, farm worker housing. I grew up in Woodburn. I lived in farm worker housing. I think at that time it was just called Marion County Housing Authority. My parents were both farm workers. So we grew up in poverty, never being able to go to the dentist myself. And so there is so much need, not just for dentistry, not just for housing, not just for medical, for everything. And I think the Woodburn Opportunity Center is going to be that gathering place, that feel-good place to bring warmth and love to the community.
Thank you. I did neglect to mention a key leader amongst our building team that has been accompanying us. In fact, we've got a few of our building team members here from Emmanuel, Scott Stokely, Patty Reese. Dad, you've been on the building team, Jack Berkey. Who else am I forgetting? Somebody. Anyway, Paul Blomberg, and he's teaching this morning. So, but another key leader is Bill Weissman, who has been accompanying us since 2014, helping us figure out how do we get funding? How do we take this facility and figure out how we get funding for a feasibility study? Because I don't think any church has ever done what we're up to, transitioning kind of a current church model into a community mission model. So we're hoping that this might be a model that others can follow. So great kudos to Bill for helping us. We have a couple other people to speak. I'm hoping Jimmy Jones with Community Action will show up, so I'll hold off. But one person that is here that it's been a year of conversations to get to a yes, and that is Ron Hayes. He is going to be our capital campaign coordinator along with Community Resource Trust. And so Ron, I want to invite you to come up and speak to us about how do you raise $15 million for this facility?
It's good to be here. I know several of you in here from different roles that you guys are doing in the community, whether it's the Northwest Hub or banking or a variety of different types of things like Habitat. But anyway, just a little bit about my background. I was the executive director of Marion Folk Food Share for 7.5 years, and so we brought a lot of food to Woodburn and helped with a lot of things. When I was there, we bought the building that Aware was in that burned down. Now it's getting rebuilt, and so there's a lot of ties to this community. I actually live out towards between Mount Angel and Scotts Mills, so not too far away. So this is where I come to shop and do my businesses here in Woodburn. Anyway, Community Resource Trust was something that we started actually when I was at the Food Share. And it was entitled that particular time Core Food Resource Trust. In other words, we were using it to develop for real estate development, but not so much real estate development as land development, and we were starting to farm to get the food we needed to distribute. And so we started a nonprofit that would hold land that we could use for that purpose. Well, I left there and the vision didn't carry on, and so here was an organization. So I went to work for Mountain West Investments, which is a real estate development corporation in Salem, does a lot of real estate development all across the West Coast. And I was in charge of their philanthropy. And part of that was that they did a lot of building of buildings and other kinds of developments. And I helped them spend money out in the community to do nonprofit types of things, philanthropic types of things. And I was there about a month, and Mike McLaren was working for them. He had been the head of the chamber in Salem for many years and was working for Mountain West. They were looking at trying to develop a career technical school. And so they started building a career technical school that eventually was donated to Salem Kaiser School District. And we had to raise $19 million for that project. And that was a little bit shocking. I thought I had to raise a lot of money when I was at the food chair, but that was a very different kind of a thing. But it's doable. And we were able to do it, and it was donated this last year to the school district, free and clear, a 140,000 square foot building that has 10 tracks for career development in it. Then I was asked would I solve homelessness by my person who was employing me, and they said, whoa, that's a bit tough. So he said, well, take 4 months and do nothing but study homelessness for 4 months. And that's what I did. And I got about 3 months. I said, well, I don't know if I can study anymore. It's just so much you can read, so much you can do, and everything. But if you look at the whole element of homelessness, it's a continuum. It's from the homeless to people in shelters, to people in subsidized and affordable housing, to market rate of housing, to ownership. And it's a full spectrum of housing that you look at when you're looking at the whole population. And we have tremendous need in this community for housing, not just for young families or singles, but also for seniors. Seniors are our fastest growing population in homelessness right now in Oregon. And that's a pretty staggering type of thing. So anyway, so at the end of that, we took the old Core Food Resource Trust, changed it into Community Resource Trust, and we actually hired Beth Hayes, which is actually my daughter, and the reason we hired her was because I'm getting old, and I told my boss, says, who's going to follow you when you leave? And he says, well, his son would follow. He says, who do you want to follow you? And I says, well, I probably should choose my daughter. And he says, bring her up. So she was actually a school teacher, and we brought her up to start working for us. And her project was helping with Community Resource Trust, and all of a sudden we started a housing project, and we had to raise $24 million for that particular project to do that. That's a lot of money to bring about. So that was sort of my experience of bringing in money. And this particular project, I believe, is doable. But what you have to understand is when you're talking about these kinds of projects, you have to do what's called braided funding. Braided funding is funding that's woven together from different strands. No funding, there will not be one funding source, but we have to pull together several funding sources. And in fact, the reason I'm speaking instead of Beth, she should be here. But anyway, she's in New Orleans right now working on securing funding that down the road we hope can bring in about $4 to $5 million in this one source that will weave in with other sources as well. She's going to a New Market Tax Credit conference right now. Anyway, that's how we have to do it. But the aspect of weaving is not something that one person does. It's something that we will do as a community and get people involved. It takes a full community of weaving to put this together. And I did say no to this project multiple times. I think that I didn't want to do it because I'm old and your energy levels are such. But anyway, when they chose to work with a Community Resource Trust as a nonprofit, then my daughter asked me to get involved, and it was hard to say no. So anyway, here we are. We're really going to be starting probably the heavy-duty fundraising, and it will take us a period of time. We will not do this in 90 days. It will take us a period of years to be able to get it all done. The housing project we did, which is $24 million, from start to finish was 7 years. The career technical education, we started in 2013 and just gave it to the school district last year. So you can understand the aspect of projects of this kind of capacity take a long time. The good thing is this project's been going for a while. And it's been a vision for a long time and hasn't died. And I think that's an asset to people like Terry, stepping up and saying, we will get to the end line, we'll get to the finish line. And so from that, I think it's a good thing. So anyway, we look forward to doing this. You'll probably see a lot of us out there working. We'll probably be contacting you as individuals to help us. It's your community. And the other part is that one of the things that happened just recently was Woodburn Opportunity Center, and it's now the Greater Woodburn Opportunity Center because we realize we have a footprint that's bigger than just the city limits itself. So that's one of the good things. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, again, we persisted with Ron, and again, with somebody who's done the level of fundraising that you have, it's exciting to know that this is going to happen. Jimmy Jones isn't here, and I don't know that I can speak great for him, but I will attempt. So Jimmy Jones is the Executive Director of Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action. And we've had a number of conversations with him. He runs a very large agency in Oregon. I don't know how many footprints there are. I want to say there's 13 different areas. But the folks that are not in this room are likely the ones that would be seeking out help. And that's people who might need assistance for housing, electricity, any social service need. And so one of the things Jimmy has been very clear about is that Woodburn, they receive taxes from Woodburn to serve Woodburn, yet they have no presence to serve the community. And so there are some folks who are here on a part-time basis. I believe now they're up at the Resource Center located over on 214, but on a very limited basis, not a full-time basis. And yet, as Dora mentioned, there's so much need in this community. There can never be enough services to help those in need. And I think, as you mentioned, Ron, the senior housing is really a concern. You know, senior states used to be affordable housing, and it's not anymore, and that's really scary. So we have a lot of work to do, but Jimmy has committed to be that social service hub leader, so working with other agencies to help meet community members' needs. So that will be the role that Community Action plays, which is a key place. As Ron mentioned, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take probably everybody in this room and lots of folks that are not in this room to help us get to the 15 million. And that was really kind of the pipe dream I had, was if we could have a building that we own free and clear, then the rents for all the folks that are in there are going to be far less, right? They're just going to have to pay the operational costs instead of a debt service, so that way their funds can go to help people. And that's really where Ron comes in, securing both state, federal, local, other philanthropic donations, which again, I think back in this community, one of the big things that happened, I remember when Jane Piance was the director of the chamber, and there was this thing that was going to come to town, and it was called this thing called the company stores, and it was going to be in this big field, and it was hard to imagine, and now it's there. And believe it or not, it's the #1 tourist attraction in the state of Oregon, which is good and weird at the same time. And as Woodburn is growing now with Amazon and housing exploding, one of the things that has been needed is a social service hub, a community connection place, a place for meetings, a place to go have coffee. We don't have it. We don't have a community space for that. And so there'll be a community campaign where likely some of us will be making some of the biggest donations of our lifetime to make a difference in Woodburn. And so we'll be asking you for that too, making a legacy commitment, just as Emmanuel is. Emmanuel owns this property free and clear, owns that property free and clear. It's probably about $2.6 million at this moment of a legacy investment to a gift to the community that will give beyond any of our imaginations. So on your table, there are a couple of things. One, there is an overview page of more in detail of what we're up to. There's also an action pledge of ways you can get involved and be informed. We've made it really simple. You can fill it out, you can hand it in. You can take a picture of it and text it to me so that way we can see how you'd like to be involved, because again, as much as good as Ron is, this is a community project. We want it to be owned by community members. And so thinking about that, and you guys have been so good about not being on your cell phones, and I'm gonna ask you to get on your cell phones now, because we have a website. And so that website, if you wanna put it into your cell phone, it's called woodburnopportunity.org, woodburnopportunity.org. There's a place on there where you can submit your email to be in contact with new developments. You can see all of the pictures. We have an architect who's done the renderings for the space. So invite you to check that out, as well as our teammates. Let's see what else I have to say. I just thank you for your time for listening today. I think this is probably one of the most exciting projects to come along. I know the city is also working on their community space. Our spaces are very different. Ours is very social service based, event center space, meal space. The city's is more active recreation. I know some people have said, well, why do we need two spaces? Well, we're completely underserved at this point. And with the growth expected in Woodburn, we need those spaces. So it's been our part to advocate that both spaces come into fruition. So thank you for your time, thanks for listening, and thank you in advance for your future participation, because this will be an exciting project.
Thank you, Terry. It is an exciting vision for our community. I know we're going a little bit longer, just any couple questions anybody have for Terry while you have her captive?
Who's gonna own the building?
So it'll be a partnership with, so Emmanuel and Community Resource Trust are gonna be the fiscal sponsors, mainly Community Resource Trust just because they have the ability to, but we'll be also part of that ownership piece. And so then there'll be a, property management and all that type of thing. So